So I say we go ahead and get started. And as we progress tonight, if we have other guests join us, then they can jump on the resilience train. So tonight I am happy to introduce Kim Thiboldeaux, and she is the CEO of Cancer Support Community. And just so all of you guys know, we are Gildas Club Kentuckiana, but we are very blessed and grateful to be part of a larger group of national affiliate programs across the country that together are represented by Cancer Support Community locations, as well as Gildas Club locations. But we are a strong network of support, and we all believe in education and hope and supporting people who are living with cancer and supporting people who love those living with cancer. So I'm going to read a little bit of Kim's bio, and then we will jump in on the topic of resilience tonight. So Kim is a nonprofit executive, thought leader, and author who continues to make her mark on the global stage by ensuring that the patient's voice is at the center of every conversation about cancer, and that is so important. As the CEO of CSC, Kim leads a global nonprofit network that operates at 175 locations, including, as I mentioned, CSCs and Gildas Club centers, and in multiple hospitals and cancer clinics. Combined with the toll-free helpline, educational materials, and digital platforms, this network of professionally led services provides more than 50 million each year in free support and navigation services to patients and families. Kim has been an invaluable resource to other organizations around the country, including the National Institutes of Health, as well as the Biden Cancer Initiative as part of their board of directors. She actually helped with the Airbnb Open Homes Initiative that I know many of you have heard about. That was a wonderful resource we got to participate in and offer to people throughout the Louisville area and Kentuckiana. She has also worked with the Navajo Nation and the Tuba City Regional Healthcare Corporation in Arizona to bring the first ever full-time cancer care and support center to an American Indian reservation, which I find remarkable and so glad that that's happening. She's also an avid traveler, a native of Philadelphia, and she grew up in a very close family, 5 children. 2 years ago, she drove her father, a retired Philadelphia city bus driver and lifelong Eagles fan, to Minneapolis, where they got to watch their team win its first Super Bowl title, which is so exciting and a great family moment. Kim graduated from American University with a bachelor's degree in communications and a minor in Spanish. And while at American, she studied abroad in London and Buenos Aires, and had experiences that spurred that lifelong zest for travel. We had a great conversation before about all the places she's been and all the places I want to go. And I'm so jealous that she has visited all 7 continents, all 50 states, and 50 plus countries. And she's not going to slow down, folks. Let me tell you, Kim is here to have the adventure of a lifetime for as long as she can. So everybody join me in welcoming Kim Thiboldeaux.
Hi, gang. Good to be with you guys. Thank you, Lori, for that very nice introduction. I know that everyone's suffering in their own way through COVID, but I'll be a crybaby for a minute because I was actually supposed to be in Russia right now. I was supposed to be at the Hermitage in St. Petersburg and then down to the Baltics, to Latvia, Lithuania, and Estonia. So I feel as if my wings have been clipped a little bit. So I'm suffering a little bit from that lack of travel, but I'm grateful for my job and grateful for my health and grateful for all the wonderful support that we've received from folks all over the country during this, really challenging time. So it is a pleasure to be here. I have had the pleasure of visiting your lovely city and spending some time there at your old place. I can't wait to get down to see your new place. I know you all, staff and community members, are anxious to get back in there and take full advantage. But I think in many ways, what we're dealing with now really speaks to the theme and to the topic, of resilience. And we're all sort of finding resilience in our, in our own ways. We've been talking a lot at the headquarters organization about the theme of resilience. And we've sort of been talking about it in some different ways. One of the basic things that we've been talking about is really the importance of just some of those basics, like some sleep, some exercise, some fresh air, trying to eat a healthy diet, trying to avoid that quarantine 15, to really keep our mind and body really kind of healthy and well. And one of the things we've been talking about with this theme of resilience is that I think in some ways, some people are born with more resilience maybe than others, but we've also learned that you can learn resilience and that you can build. It's sort of like a muscle, right? That you can build and strengthen that muscle, and you can condition yourself to become a more resilient person. And I know some of the ways that we think about and talk about doing that is certainly by staying connected to those that we love and those that we care about and those that give us support. I know for many of us, that's our families. I know for my family, my big crazy family, every Sunday at 6, we do Sunday Zoom dinner. We all get on the Zoom and we all talk to each other about our week and our highlights. And sometimes we do little slideshows of the week and show some pictures. And I love it. We've been doing this for months now, but I love it still. Every Sunday, my mom and dad are sitting on the couch and they look at each other and they go, "This is amazing, isn't it? This is amazing. Look, we can see all of them, you know, it's just the cutest. It's just the best." And I just love seeing that. So I think that idea of staying connected, and I really applaud our folks there in Kentucky, and I applaud all of our affiliates for really pivoting. I think pivot is going to be the word of 2020, right? How did we really pivot to still keep all of you guys connected to one another, connected to our beautiful affiliate? How do we take advantage of things like this Zoom? Isn't it really cool that we can do this, you know? And how do we stay connected to one another through Zoom, through the telephone, through other means of really, staying connected. But I think that resilience, really that connectivity is such a critical part of resilience. I think one of the other themes for me that's come up with the resilience discussion is really around gratitude. How do you find gratitude and how do you articulate gratitude? And one of our social workers at the headquarters organization said to me that it's not enough just to feel gratitude or to think gratitude, that you have to actually say it out loud. And that act and that step of actually saying it out loud really will help to build and add to your resilience. And it can be something as simple as, I am grateful that I got out of bed today, right? Or I am grateful that I had this beautiful warm cup of tea to greet me in the morning, or I'm grateful that I had this cute dog that just came up to snuggle up next to me, right, Lori? Yes. But really those moments of gratitude and really expressing that, you can express it to the person you live with, to the person next to you, express it to the person in the grocery store. I live alone, so if I'm talking out loud too much, people will think I'm talking to myself, which I often do. But really that act of expressing that gratitude and thinking about those moments really, and I do have to say, I like I said, I'm feeling a little sorry for myself that I'm not on my big trip that I had planned, and I'm feeling a little deprived of oxygen because I love to travel so much. You guys heard about all my wonderful, crazy adventure trips. So it's such a part of who I am and my DNA. So I'm missing that, but I'm also finding a lot of moments to really have gratitude. I mean, right now, for example, I have gratitude for the autumn leaves. I mean, it's just becoming so beautiful outside, these beautiful leaves. And sometimes I just get in my car and take a drive on the weekends, just to get out there and really, feel those leaves. And just a couple of other things around gratitude. One is, it's really around letting go of those things that we can't control, right? Otherwise, we're going to make ourselves crazy, and we want to try to do everything, and we want to try to fix everything, and we want everything to be perfect. But the fact of the matter is, there's some things that are out of our control. And I think that, there's a lot of uncertainty now, right? With COVID, with our schedules, with the vaccine, with everything that's going on. We can't control those things. And so for us to get upset and angry or anxious or so worked up about those things is not going to get us anywhere. So think about the things where you can have control, right? So some of the things we talked about, okay, I want to commit to a healthier lifestyle. So I'm going to make sure I can take a walk today, and that's something that I can do, and I can make that commitment, and I can control that. I can decide I'm going to go, even if it's just a walk around the block, or even I live in an apartment building, maybe it's just a walk down the hall, whatever that looks like, find those things where you can have some control and take some control, and put those things that are out of your control, to the side. And I always I'm telling my parents now, turn off the news so much, the news is making us crazy and reminding us of all the things that are out of our control. So, turn off the news a little bit. And then, lastly, I just want to say, I think the other thing that helps to build our resilience is hope. And we talk a lot about hope at Gildas Club and at the cancer support community, and what that means for us. And I think in many ways, resilience and hope go hand in hand. So I just wanted to open with those few words. I have a few slides I'd like to share with you. I think maybe some of our folks don't know as much about the national organization or the structure or some of the things we're doing or working on. And so I just wanted to take a few minutes to just share a few slides. I think it's, maybe it's helpful to know the network that you're a part of. Maybe it'll also help you feel less alone. One of the things we always talk about at Gildas is, we don't want folks to feel alone. We want folks to feel connected and feel that sense of community. So if you go a couple slides down, Lori, I just think that that's me in Philadelphia. This idea that the resilience and hope really do go hand in hand, and I think have a critical interplay. Just a little bit about our roots as an organization, and I just celebrated my 20th anniversary at Cancer Support Community. And when I joined the organization, I joined an organization called the Wellness Community, which was founded by that gentleman at the top left, Harold Benjamin, and his wife, Harriet, out in Santa Monica, founded in 1982. So a couple more years, and we're going to have our 40th anniversary. And Harold was a very successful real estate lawyer. And Harriet got diagnosed with breast cancer, and Harold sort of thought, there's got to be more to this experience. The doctors come in, they're very cold. They don't ask her how she's doing. They open her gown and look at her scar, and then they talk to him about her, condition. And he really kind of had an epiphany, and he sold his real estate practice, went to school and got his PhD in psychology, and founded the Wellness Community. And that on the bottom left is that little yellow house in Santa Monica, which was the very first location in 1982. Joanna Bull, who many of you know about Joanna. Joanna was a facilitator and a therapist at the Wellness Community, and one of our most well-known participants at that little yellow house in Santa Monica was Gilda Radner. And after Gilda passed, Joanna moved to New York, and along with Gene Wilder, founded Gildas Club in New York. And so, in those early days, the organizations were sort of East Coast, West Coast. There were a lot of similarities. Obviously, Joanna had worked at the Wellness Community very closely with Harold and sort of building and refining the model. A lot of similarities, but East Coast, West Coast, we kind of started all moving into the middle of the country, maybe bumping into each other a little bit. And in 2009, please go to the next slide. In 2009, the then head of Gildas Club Worldwide in New York called me and said, maybe we could be doing this better together. And interestingly, at that time, 2008, you'll see this report that came out of the Institute of Medicine, which is part of the National Academies in Washington, D.C. They came out with a report called Cancer Care for the Whole Patient, Meeting Psychosocial Health Needs. And that report said that all cancer care should include appropriate psychosocial care and support. And that if you were not addressing the needs of the whole person, that you were not providing quality cancer care, period, full stop. And that report really became a defining affirmation of the work of both organizations, and such a great opportunity for us to join forces and be much better together. And I want to emphasize this statement from the World Health Organization, because I think this really links also to our model at the Cancer Support Community. And the way that I interpret this statement is, we are not just talking about the absence of illness, okay? We are talking about the presence of wellness. We are talking about complete physical, mental, social well-being. So it's not enough just to eliminate or eradicate the disease. It's not just about the physical aspects, that we have to treat the whole person. We have to look at the emotional, the psychological, the spiritual, about all aspects of care and all aspects of a human being who's confronting this very challenging disease. So let's go to the next slide. So just a little bit more about our structure. This is the mission of Cancer Support Community. And as Lori said, Cancer Support Community is the umbrella organization of all of these wonderful service delivery sites around the country. And our mission is to ensure that all people impacted by cancer are empowered by knowledge, strengthened by action, and sustained by community. And our feeling is that no matter who you are, no matter where you live, and whether you're at a cancer support community or at a Gildas Club, and whether you're in Kentucky or whether you're in Montana, that we have something for you. No matter how you choose to face cancer, we're there for you. The next slide is just a little bit about our wonderful leadership team. And I'll talk to you a little bit about the structure of the organization, but we have about 60 full-time employees at the headquarters organization. I just want to mention that when I joined the wellness community in 2000, the headquarters office then was in Cincinnati, Ohio. So maybe a little closer to where you are now than Philadelphia. So I actually moved from New York City to Cincinnati. And I will say, again, on the theme of resilience, when I went there, there were 1.5 staff members. We were in a basement in Cincinnati, and we had about $80,000 in the bank. And the organization that you see today has grown from that and over this period of time. So it is in many ways a story of resilience. I have a few personal scars to prove that. I won't show them to you now, but it is, you know, what we have built as a team over the past 20 years is in many ways, it is a story. It is a story of resilience. It's a story of all those themes that I mentioned earlier. It's about finding meaning. It's about community. It's about connecting with one another. It's about letting go of the things you can't control and hanging on to the things that you can and trying to do some good in the world, you know? So this is our leadership team. And then this is our structure on the next slide. You'll get a chance to see a little bit about us. Now, we put patients and caregivers and families at the center of everything that we do. But I think this structure is important, and I want to talk about it for a minute because I want you to understand that it is very much by design. It is very intentional. There is a book called Forces for Good that was written by a woman named Leslie Crutchfield. And in that book, Leslie really examines the attributes and characteristics of transformational nonprofit organizations. And in the book, she says, look, you have to do three things. You have to be serving the people, you know, who are intended to receive your programs and missions. You have to do research because you have to prove what you're doing is effective and having an impact. And then you have to do policy and advocacy because that's how you change, that's how you create system change. How do you help one person today at the same time advocating for all people who are impacted by cancer? And so that's the structure that you see here. Amazingly, last year we had more than 500,000 visits by patients and families to our 175 locations. It is a wow, Lori. And again, I want folks who are on with us today to really see and understand the scope of the organization that you're a part of. You are certainly connected to one of our most wonderful and successful affiliates around the country, but I want you to know that you're connected to people in Montana, and you're connected to people in Fort Lauderdale, and you're connected to people here in Philadelphia and in San Francisco and in Phoenix, Arizona. We have these beautiful centers around the country. We have a helpline where you can call here. We had over 30,000 calls last year. This year, we're on track to have over 40,000 calls to the helpline, including a lot of folks calling with a lot of COVID anxiety, which we understand. Over 3 million visits to the headquarters website. And then we have a beautiful online community called My Lifeline, where you can sort of set up a community where you can update your friends and your family and others about what's happening with your cancer experience. Wonderful work happening in our research institute and also in our policy institute, and really ensuring that we are fighting for quality cancer care, and we're fighting for access to cancer care, affordable care, and also an increased investment in research on the part of the United States. So exciting stuff. I just want to talk for a minute about this beautiful network. And again, you'll see these are pictures and examples of some of our sites around the country. We, as I said, you know, we have a significant number of brick and mortar locations, our sort of core affiliate locations, and many of our affiliates have beautiful satellite programs around their community in churches and community centers and other locations. We also now have cancer support communities embedded in 7 hospitals around the country, and that's a growing partnership. We're also in 1 federally qualified health center, which is a community health clinic in Washington, D.C. that serves an underserved community. So we're excited about that. And you can, you know, just see some of our different locations. There's Chicago there on the bottom right is that we're in a historic home in Philadelphia. So you get a sense of these. And then just a moment on the next slide about the Research Institute. This is just a map of our locations, our core affiliate locations around the country. So you can see that. I also want to mention that we have 2 affiliates in Canada. We have an affiliate in Tel Aviv. We have an affiliate in Tokyo. And we have, of all places, an affiliate in development in Baghdad, in Iraq. where folks are really struggling with cancer and struggling with their healthcare system there. And there's a wonderful doctor there who did some of his training in the US who wants to bring our model there. So that's exciting. On the next slide, you'll just get a sense of our Research and Training Institute, which is here in Philadelphia, right in the shadow of the Liberty Bell. And we do have a wonderful, beautiful research team here of PhD psychologists really studying the cancer patient experience. So we have a registry of over 14,000 cancer patients. We're doing peer-reviewed research, market research. We really are building our expertise in the cancer patient experience. We're trying to really understand and dig deep on what are all the things that are impacting cancer patients, the financial impact, the emotional impact, issues around, dealing with family, issues around talking to your kids, your relationship with your healthcare team, how you're making decisions. So we are really digging in, concerns about nutrition, all of those kinds of things, digging in and really studying. And we are publishing on a regular basis on what we're learning about the patient experience, and we're informing ourselves so that we can develop better programs. We're informing the medical community, so docs are really getting it and understanding what you're experiencing, and we're also educating policymakers so that they can hear directly from you about what's happening in your lives and what some of the challenges are. On the next slide, you'll see a little bit about our Policy Institute in Washington, D.C. We've been pretty busy this year at the Policy Institute. Again, lots of moving parts with COVID and some of the relief packages. And now, hello, doggy. Now, some concerns about the Affordable Care Act and what that's going to mean. It's going to the Supreme Court. If it's struck down, what's left? There are over 20 million people who have coverage through the ACA. So if it is struck down by the courts, what's going to come behind that? How do we make sure we are protecting people with pre-existing conditions? Cancer is a pre-existing condition. How are we making sure people aren't hitting up against their annual caps and lifetime caps with their insurance? Lots of folks know that they're able to keep kids up to 26 on their policy. Not super common for a person that age to get cancer, but it happens. We know it happens for young folks to get cancer. And so we've been busy. Our team has been rolling up their sleeves and really trying to educate and get engaged in the conversation. You can go to the next slide. So we have done quite a bit during the era of COVID. Again, I think as a national organization and through the affiliate network, we have pivoted quite a bit. These are some of the things that folks are telling us about their COVID experience. And, I would like to, at the end of this discussion, I just have a couple more slides, but like to hear from folks about, I'm certainly happy to ask any questions you have for me about me or the organization, but also would love to hear from folks about, how have you sort of built your resilience muscle through COVID? How have you been getting through? What tips might you have for others? So, so let's get those questions ready. Let's go to the next slide, a little bit more about COVID. Again, you can see some of our traffic. Our helpline calls have been up 80%. I've had to hire more people. We've extended our hours. We're now answering the phone 7 days a week to talk directly to patients and help them out. And so, these are just some of the personal stories of folks who've benefited from some of our services through COVID. Let's go to the next slide. I just wanted to take a minute to tell you about me. This is my family. I am single and I have no kids, except I have 9 kids. These are my nieces and nephews who I adore. That's my cute mom and dad in the middle there. We grew up in Philadelphia. My dad was a bus driver for 30 years, and I'm the oldest girl of 5 kids. So I learned pretty early on how to cook and clean and sew and do all those good things and help to take care of the kiddos. And I became an aunt fairly early on in my life. And so I'm super close to all these kids. They range from 30 to 12. I'm also very, very close with my parents. I live in Philadelphia. They live down at the Jersey Shore, so not too far, about an hour from me. So I have them locked up down there. So I go down every week and bring them groceries and supplies, and we sit outside and tell good stories and tales. And my nephew and I built a fire pit a couple weeks ago so we can try to extend the season a little bit and can sit around the fire and bundle up as it starts to get a little chillier, and be together. So anyway, these are the loves of my life. These folks here in this picture, but we had a little bit of a tough upbringing, but a lot of love and a lot of love and support from my parents. But we were pretty on the poor side of things, but we made it work, and I appreciate the resilience that they taught me, and their support. I really, nobody in my family had gone to college. I really wanted to go to school, so they supported me in that, and in going to American University in Washington. And they also supported all my crazy travels. This is so important to me, my travels. And so I just thought I'd put a couple pictures up here. On the top left, there I am at Ayers Rock in Australia, in the outback. And then to the right of that, I did a cycling trip in Morocco. So there I am at the Casbah in Morocco. To the right there at the lighthouses in New Zealand. Bottom center is New Year's Eve in Cuba, in Havana, Cuba. And to the left is the Navajo Nation, one of my many visits to the Navajo Nation. And I'll just end with that. On the last slide, you'll see a few folks, photos from Navajo. As Lori said, when I was working with Joe Biden on the moonshot in the White House and then the Biden Cancer Initiative, I was at the end of his term, I was facilitating a program at the White House on reaching the underserved. And after that session, two women came up to me and said, "Did you know that there's no cancer treatment on any American Indian reservation?" And I thought, that could not possibly be true. I thought they had lost their minds, these two women. Well, it was true. And it broke my heart. And so I said, look, I don't know how, but I'm going to get involved with your effort, and I want to be a part of changing that. And so last year in May of 2019, we were a part of launching the first ever full-time cancer treatment program on an American Indian reservation on the Navajo Nation in Arizona in a town called Tuba City. And these are some of the people that I have met out during my visits. I've become good buddies with the woman on the right. Her name is Elsie. She's 86 and she's a master Navajo weaver. In fact, she wove that rug that my friends there are holding. And she doesn't speak much English. The older folks there mostly only speak Navajo. So I've been practicing my Navajo, and she kind of walks me around the house and she'll pick something up. She'll pick up her glasses and then say the word in Navajo, and she makes me say it. And so then we were sitting on her couch and her cat crawled up on her lap. And I said, Elsie, I said, Navajo, how do you say cat in Navajo? And she said, cat. Which I thought was hysterical. But, they're extraordinary people. I think that they're actually the picture of resilience. The American Indians in our country, they've really been through so much. Those two women at the top left are sisters. They're 82 and 86, and they're sheep herders. And I went out to visit them with a traveling nurse, and the older sister was at home and the younger sister wasn't in the home. And the nurse said, well, where's your sister? She goes, oh, look out the window. And I look up, and there's this 82-year-old woman up in the hills feeding, with her sheep, grazing with her herd of sheep in the mountains. No electricity. A third of the people have no electricity. A third of the people have no running water. The 80% of the roads are unpaved, and there are over 500 uranium mines on the reservation that the U.S. government opened up during World War II and the Cold War that we never properly closed. So the reservation is contaminated with uranium, the water, the soil, the animals. So they're getting cancer at a very high rate, and certainly part of it is due to uranium exposure. So it's layer upon layer of challenge, but these are just very wonderful, sincere, honest, hardworking people. We hold a lot of myths and misconceptions about American Indians in this country, and I was guilty of that myself. And over the past, 3 years, I've had an incredible education, and I've traveled out there 5 times in the past 3 years. And one of the things I'm working on now is we're actually making a documentary about this effort to bring the first ever cancer program to an American Indian reservation. And now we're actually also starting to do some work with the Blackfeet Reservation up in Montana. And one of the things that I realized in traveling out there, we talk a lot about hope at Gildas Club. And one of the things that I realized was that there was very little hope among the Navajo people, because they have just been let down and disappointed time and time again. And when you are constantly let down and constantly disappointed and frankly constantly lied to, how can you hold on to hope when that's years and years and years and that's your experience? And I think what I saw with this cancer center, I saw a spark of hope, because we said we were going to do it and we did it. And I'm proud to report that since last May, over 300 cancer patients have made over 1,300 visits to that cancer center in Tuba City, where they look like them, they speak like them, they speak their language, they understand the culture, they understand the customs, they understand and they get it. And it's such a special project and a special experience. I feel so honored and privileged to have been a tiny little part of it. And it's been a great education for me. I'm a bit of a frustrated anthropologist. So I think it's been scratching that itch for me to really learn about the people and the culture and the incredible strength of character. And again, I think the definition of resilience in the Navajo people. So that's my last slide. And again, Lori, I would love to have questions, comments. I'd love for people to share their own experience. I'm happy to answer any questions, personal questions about CSC. Nothing's off the table. How folks have been dealing with COVID, how they have been really digging deep and building that resilience muscle.
Thank you so much, Kim, for sharing. Guys, I'd love to hear your questions. I have a few that I'll get started with.
Yeah, great.
You can type those into the chat window. Again, that's at the bottom center of your screen. There's a little talk icon. You can type those in, and Kim and I can both see them as you do. Hope to hear not only questions, but also testimonial like Kim requested. As an avid traveler, I know that you have engaged with many cultures around the world, probably seen different displays of resilience on many different scales. Could you share a couple of other of those cultural experiences where you've seen examples of resilience?
Yeah, absolutely. So I went to a country in West Africa called Mali. And it's actually, interestingly, people laugh when I tell them this, but it's actually where Timbuktu is located, in Mali in West Africa. People go, Timbuktu, is that really a place? Yeah, it is a place. It's one of the poorest countries in the world. And I went there because there's a group of nomads that live in the desert that are called the Tuaregs. And there have been a lot of conflict between the Tuaregs and the Malian government. And they had arrived at a peace settlement. And part of the peace settlement was that the Malian government was going to host a music festival in the Sahara Desert. And I was desperate to go to this music festival. So I found my way to this crazy festival in the Sahara. But I spent a lot of time traveling around Mali. And one of the things I saw was, again, one of the poorest countries in the world, a lot of economic challenges, a lot of war, conflict. These folks were the nicest, most wonderful, gracious people that you could ever meet. And they had nothing but whatever they had, they gave it to you as the guest. They gave it to you first. They had, one piece of chicken and they, offered it to you. They were the generosity, the warmth, the love, the hospitality that I felt in spending time with these people was just, it was extraordinary to me. It was truly, truly incredible. The other experience around resilience that I witnessed was when I went to Cuba. And this painting, one of these paintings is from Cuba. You can probably guess which one. And the other one is from Japan. But my apartment looks like a little museum with all my little artifacts. But I don't want to get political at all, but unfortunately, the Cuban people have suffered greatly from the embargo. From the U.S. embargo. And unfortunately, that's who has suffered. It's been the Cuban people. Yet they have found ways to be creative. They found ways to build gardens. They have found ways to do their craft. They have found ways to connect with people and to continue their commitment to art and to culture, and to the ballet and to, other wonderful, wonderful things in their culture. And so even during a multi-decade embargo that even has prevented them, to be honest, from getting medicine, from getting the latest, cancer treatment and cancer care, which is heartbreaking. They have found creative ways. They say necessity is the mother of invention, right? And they have found lots of creative ways to dig deep and to find that resilience time and time again. In order to confront a difficult situation and find ways to not only survive, but to thrive, even in the midst of a decades-long embargo. So those are a couple of examples of resilience that I've seen in my travels.
I had the privilege to go to Cuba last summer. We were the last group, the last flight from Miami to Cuba before they closed again. And I was similarly impressed. I mean, every night leaning out a balcony, people laughing and dancing in the street, and knowing that because the people who hosted us told us, we have a day of the week that we wait in line to go get water and soap, and
right.
And there's a limited, we get what we get, and there's no more
rations. They have ration coupons.
And she was, making do for a family of 5, while also a housekeeper and a cook for this little rental apartment that was above hers. And but still, the laughter and the singing and the color, to walk down the street and see, 2 boys, playing soccer next to a pile of rubble, not knowing what rubble they lived in, and it not mattering.
Yep, absolutely,
Really
absolutely.
beautiful.
I see a question
Yes.
from Amy. Have you ceased travels at the rate of COVID? Yes, Amy, sadly I have. I was saying earlier that I was actually supposed to be in St. Petersburg, Russia right now at the Hermitage and at Catherine's Palace, and then traveling down through the Baltic. So, the plug was pulled on that, and had to call it a day. And I mean, to be honest, even with my job, I was on the road every week for my job, traveling out to visit nice people like you, visit our affiliates and go to conferences and meet with donors. And I was on a plane or a train every week with my job. And I haven't been on an airplane since March, which is so weird for me. I always have my go bag. I'm ready to go. I'm a great packer. I'm a great traveler, and I'm always sort of ready to go. So I've had to find my own little adventures here in Philadelphia. I've done a lot of discoveries in Philly and in the area. Jump in my car, I found great little hiking trails and lakes and things within an hour or two of here to satisfy my need for adventure and newness and kind of new environments. I think maybe I'm have a little undiagnosed ADD. So I always have to get out there and try to find new things. And so I think I might have to write an adventure book around Philadelphia or something, because I've been really digging deep in the Philly area to find some new and creative things to do. So I know it's a challenge.
There you go. Anne Flint said she just wants everyone to know how grateful she is for those who have thought of the needs of us who are going through cancer. And Gildas Club has been a lifeline during treatment during COVID. And we're so grateful to have you and everyone on the call today.
Absolutely, Anne. And I'm so happy to hear from you on that. And I'm so happy to hear that message. As I said, I've been doing this work for 20 years, and every morning I wake up, it continues to be a privilege and an honor to serve people like you, Anne, to serve those around the country who are challenged by a cancer diagnosis and are trying to find the tools and the resources to navigate, trying to find that connection, trying to find that community, to find their way through. It's it touches me, Anne, that you found our Gildas Club and that it is your lifeline during cancer treatment, during COVID, and hopefully beyond, as we all try to imagine a post-COVID world and sort of being back together with the hugs and the fist bumps and all of that connection that I know we're all missing so much. And again, I applaud our folks there at Gildas for finding some really wonderful and creative ways to continue to keep us connected even through this national crisis. So.
Another question for you, Kim. I know a lot of times people find their way into this work because of a personal experience. What brought you into the psychosocial support endeavor?
So we have had a lot of cancer in our family, but I have to say that when I was younger and in my 20s, I actually started my career in HIV and AIDS. And I worked at an AIDS clinic in Washington, D.C. And that was before we had these good treatments for HIV and AIDS. So we were losing people every day. And again, I was so touched by being a part of that experience. And, you really connect with people at maybe a very challenging or vulnerable or intimate time. And the idea that we could be with them, side by side with them to help them was so touching for me. And then I went into the private sector for a little while. And I have to say that I really missed working in the nonprofit space. And part of my job at the company where I worked was to work with cancer organizations. And that's when I got to know the wellness community. I got to know the original affiliate. The first one I got to know was in Philadelphia. And I said, oh, you guys are a nice, Philadelphia local organization. They said, no, we actually have 10, I think it was 10 at that time, affiliates around the country. And I said, well, then we need to step it up, people, because I've never heard of you and you guys need to be showing up here and showing up here. And I want people to know you and know what you're doing. I think you have a wonderful model, but we have to put a little bow on it and let people know who you are, as they say, hide it under a bushel, no more. So I got involved, I helped with some funding, then I joined their board of directors. And then they said, listen, we want to ask you to come and be our CEO. And I said, I'm not doing that. I was working for a company that wanted to move me to Europe. And I said, I'm not doing that. First of all, I'm living in New York City. You have no staff, you have no money. Your office is in Cincinnati, Ohio, which I've never even been to. And I said, no, I said, I can't do that. I'm leaving. I got to leave. I'm leaving. I didn't leave. I knew that moment I was going to take that job. I think there was something like entrepreneurial in me where I thought, oh, I think I can do this. And I also thought a little bit further back in my mind, even if I can't do it, I was a very good waitress. So if it doesn't work out, I can go back to waiting tables because I know I'm really, really good at that because I put myself through college waiting tables day and night. So I said, even if it doesn't work out, I can do that. And, I have to say, here we are 20 years later. And we took it from that, little office, 1.5 employees, 80,000 bucks in the bank, about 10 affiliates to now, this $50 million network that you see, 500 employees across the country, a research institute, a policy institute. It's been an extraordinary journey and a great privilege to do this. I'll also mention, I'm super excited. My big COVID project was that I wrote another book. So I have a book coming out next year called Your Cancer Roadmap. That's coming out next spring. And we have a lot of Dr. Jill Biden wrote the foreword, and we have a guest essay from Joan London and a lot of other folks who contributed. But it really is that soup to nuts, beginning to end. Here are all the things that you should do. We have a lot of testimonials from patients in there, and a lot of good. It's a real curation of a lot of the CSC resources that we have for folks. So, and we just finished the cover design. So I'm super excited about that coming out in the spring. So I tried to make some good use of my COVID time to do something productive.
Excellent, excellent. Cecilia would like to know some other differences between Gildas Clubs and CSC locations, maybe that you didn't mention earlier.
Sure. So as I said, in many ways, Gildas Club was birthed out of the wellness community, which became the cancer support community. And there were similarities before we joined forces, but since we joined forces, which was a process that happened between 2009 and 2011, we're the same. We just have different names, but we're the same program. We're the same model. All of the program standards are the same. We do support, we do education, nutrition, exercise, stress reduction, social events. We serve people with all cancers at any stage of disease. We serve family members and loved ones. So we were very similar. I would say maybe first cousins before the merger, but certainly since the merger, if you were to walk into one of the cancer support community affiliates around the country, it might not look exactly the same. You might not have the Gilda images and things like that. But if you pulled out the calendar, you would go, oh, okay, I see. There's the yoga class. There's the Tai Chi class. There's the breast cancer support group. There's the Kids Connect program. There's the, so you would, it's pretty much the same program model now. And we integrated, we pulled the best from both and kind of put it together into this integrated program model. And so all of the standards, the quality standards, the program are now the same.
All right. Well, guys, we still have a few minutes before 7 o'clock. If you have any other questions, feel free to fire those up in the chat. We'll wait a couple minutes to see if anyone does. And if not, we will thank Kim and enjoy the rest of our beautiful fall evenings that we have tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. I love opening the windows now, right? And getting that nice crisp air in the windows. And I'm trying to think about what might be in my freezer that I can whip up for dinner.
Oh, goodness. Well, it looks like we have satisfied the questions for the evening. Everyone on the call, thank you so much for taking some time tonight to gather together and enjoy some community and meet someone who's very dear to all of our CSC and Gildas Club hearts. Kim, thank you for your time. We know it's precious, and we appreciate you visiting us virtually and look so forward to having you here in Louisville to see what all Kentuckiana is doing at our new home.
Well, I cannot wait to come and visit. The pleasure has been all mine for sure. And I just want to say that I think everyone's time is precious, and so equally precious. So I appreciate folks having a little leap of faith to jump on to the Zoom call and join in for some fun conversation, and hopefully next year I can come down in the flesh and hopefully you'll say to me, I saw you on that Zoom call, on that Zoom call. I was the one asking the questions. I was, so I can't wait for that. And I can't wait to be together in person. But in the meantime, I really wish all of you health. I wish you happiness. And I really hope that that you'll take good care and be super careful, during COVID. Take care of yourselves, take care of your families, continue to, check in with your doctors, continue to plug into our wonderful Gildas Club programs. And I'm so happy and grateful that you're part of our network and that you're continuing to share with us. And I hope to see you again.
On that note, guys, please check out our online calendar at gck.org for lots of other fun offerings. And we will hopefully see you on another Zoom very soon. Have a great evening, everyone.
Good night.
Good night.